Manaroth knelt before the violently flaring vortex, trying to make himself as small as possible. A little bit so that he could fit inside the frame, but mainly because he now communed with Sargeras, who was throwing a fit, going off, crashing out, and yapping big yikes.
The way is not yet open. I had expected better.
We struggle, but the task, it's almost as if the world itself seeks to prevent your coming, Great One.
I will not be denied.
No, of course not.
There was then silence for a moment, before the voice inside the Pit Lord's head continued, not really at all placated.
There is a disruption. A wrongness. There are those who should not be, but are. And those who seek to awake what should not be awoken.
Okay.
They are the key. They must be hunted.
Our commander's in the field already, and the other one is long on the trail. The transgressors will be brought to ground.
The portal wobbled. Manaroth could straight up feel just how close to popping off the Lord of the Legion was if his entry into this rich world was delayed much longer.
One must be brought here whole, so that I may have the pleasure of tearing him asunder, personally.
An image then materialized inside Manaroth's mind of an insignificant creature. Same race as the Highborn, but younger. Instead of lavish clothing, though, this one was dressed in rather drab garments. And a bra, every now and then, because WoW Model Viewer was discontinued quite a while ago and its replacement WMVX has some weird bugs it needs to figure out. Something I hadn't even noticed, by the way, before someone pointed it out in the comments section of the last video. And I have been laughing about that pretty much ever since. But anyway,
mark him well.
I have already, Great One. Our command, Hakar, and I, one of us will snare him.
As I said, alive, so that I may have my pleasure with his torture.
And with that decree, Sargeras' voice vanished, leaving the hulking beastly Pit Lord to shudder to himself. The idea of suffering torture at the hands of Sargeras was enough to give anyone the goosebumpy heebie-jeebs. Meanwhile, back with the good guys, the task of reorganizing the host after that last battle was quite monumental, but, to his credit, Lord Ravencrest did a pretty good job, managing to take an account of all supplies of food and water, and then distributing them accordingly. Some of the high-ranking amongst the refugees did attempt to protest at not receiving a more bountiful share, as was their right, but one single bit of side-eye from the commander was enough to make them all shut their goddamned mouths. At the same time, Tyrande and the other Sisters of Elune made their way through the crowds, offering blessings and healing to those in need. And literally everyone, young, old, high caste or low, welcomed Tyrande's presence. But the young priestess, humble as ever, did not attribute this to any particularly special gift that she herself possessed. It was more likely that her gentle demeanor was simply a nice contrast to all of the crap that these people had just faced. Anywho, at some point, Tyrande noted a small figure crouched alone, a young female, only 2 or 3 years away from being able to enter into the service of Elune herself, sat in miserable silence, staring at nothing. So, kneeling beside her, Tyrande attempted to do her job and comfort the poor girl.
Be at peace. I am from the temple. What's your name?
Chandris. Feathermoon.
Where is your family, Chandris?
I don't know.
Are you from Sorama?
Tyrande certainly didn't recognize the girl, but in a city the size of Sorama, that didn't really mean anything. However, the girl then shook her head.
Arahinam.
Oh, balls. Tyrande did her best to hide her concern from her own face. Based on what she'd gathered already from other refugees, those who had fled that particular place had not fared well.
When did you last see them? I was with a friend when the monsters came. I tried to run home, but someone grabbed me. Told me I had to run the other way. I did. But I should have gone home. I should have gone home.
The girl then covered her face and wept, which was pretty good timing. Unfortunate, to be honest. Tyrande's facial expression was now that of a person who was 100% certain that Chandris' family was as dead as a doornail. It was a bloody miracle Chandris had even survived.
Has anyone taken care of you since your flight?
No.
There were many folk in exactly the same situation as Chandris, but there was just something about this child that touched the priestess. Perhaps it was that she somewhat resembled Tyrande in face and form at that age. Or Perhaps it's a way to take Tyranda's character one step further. She's not just a love interest anymore, guys. She's a mother figure now too. But either way,
come with me.
This went against her orders, but the priestess couldn't give less of a shit.
Where are we going? I've more work to do. Here, we'll find some dried fruit in this pouch.
Tyranda handed the girl the thing, and without any hesitation, Chandris started to eagerly rummage through it, munching and gobbling all that she found. Also eating Tyranda's ration before the young priestess could say anything, but that was fine. The sisterhood had taught them how to survive during times of minimal sustenance. There were actually 4 periods of ritual fasting each year for Sisters of Elune, done as a sign of dedication to the goddess. So this was just another Wednesday, as far as Tyranda was concerned. Moving on to the next bunch of refugees, Tyranda continued her duties, tending to the wounded and exhausted and stuff, praying to the Mother Moon for strength and guidance, joyful that the goddess saw fit to grant her success in each and every single one of those efforts. Until she then came upon a rather disgusting infected injury that shocked her greatly. The victim, an older male, lay pale and unconscious, his breathing rapid. Tyranda studied the unsettling greenish pus and peculiar cuts of the wound, but it was unclear as to whether this was an intentional wound or an accident. So she went ahead and asked the poor sod's mate some questions.
How did he do this?
He didn't. It was done to him.
The older female obviously noted the confusion on Tyranda's face, so she continued.
This thing. He said it looked like a wolf or an, but twisted. Like out of a nightmare.
Tyranda shivered. She instantly recognized the description. A fell beast. Interesting fact. My word processor software tries to autocorrect fell beast to beam feast. Anyway, a fell beast. 4-legged demons that had nearly slain Malfurion more than once. Beam feasts that attempt to suck magic users dry and turn them into raisins.
He made it all the way from Arahanam, like this. No, from there we escaped whole. This he got but 2 days ago, while sneaking off to find us food.
2 days? That didn't make any sense. That would put them with the mass of bodies flooding toward Mount Hydel. But none of the demons had managed to break ahead of the host. Of that, Tyranda was certain.
You swear that it was only 2 days? It happened near here, back in the wooded lands to the south. I swear it.
Another set of balls. The woods to the south were behind Night Elven lines. This was bad news.
Let me see what can be done.
Tyranda leaned over the wound, forcing herself to touch it despite its grossness. Hearing Chandris audibly gasp. The girl feared for the priestess, and rightly so. You never know with demon-caused wounds. Anything could happen. The Burning Legion definitely seemed like the types that would spread a plague or something.
Mother Moon, hear my entreaties. Grant this humble one the cool, soothing powers of your touch. Guide my hands to the source of this abomination. Let me remove the taint so that this innocent might recover.
Focusing her will into her work by humming, a pale silvery light then shone around Tyranda's fingers, and we cut to the elder female and Chandris' reaction, standing there wide-eyed and gasping because that's a lot easier than trying to animate wounds being healed, but just as effective.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, sister. I'm merely a vessel for the work of the Mother Moon. If there is one to thank, it is her.
Despite her humility, both the stricken male, whose name was Carius, and his wife, whose name isn't given because screw her, I guess, continued to express their gratitude.
Please, you can repay me by telling me in more detail what happened.
And so, Carius relayed his story, as much as he could. I'm gonna go and get us some food and stuff. Carriers go into forest to find berries and fresh water. I see an area that probably contains berries and fresh water. Carriers soon discover bush. Nibbling on occasional berry, he began to fill his pouch. But something rummage and rustle in foliage nearby. Oh dear, it might be Tauren, or bear. I should choose it. Carriers start back, his gaze constantly over shoulder so that whatever emerged from foliage not catch him by surprise. It catch him by surprise. Carriers looking in wrong direction. Oi! Get off, you bastard! Oh! A crack sound echo through air. The beast suddenly bugger off, leaving Carius to crawl his way back, bloody and mauled. Such was the nature of the matter. It transpired precisely in that fashion. Tyranda digested the tale with a great sense of foreboding. What the bloody hell had that abomination been doing behind the lines? In theory, one such beast, whilst formidable, could be readily dealt with by those with experience. But what if there were more?
You mentioned the crack that drew it away. What was that? Thunder.
No, it bore the distinct sharp crack of a whip, I do declare.
Thank you. If you'll forgive me, I must be on my way.
No, please. It's us who thank you again, sister. I thought I'd lost him.
Tyrande smiled, nodded, and then quickly walked off before any further conversation could be initiated, with Chandra scurrying after her.
You healed him completely. I thought he'd be dead before you could even start.
As did I. The Mother Moon was generous to me.
I've never seen a priestess heal a wound so horrible. And that monster that made it.
Hush, Chandris. I must think.
She didn't mean to be rude, but there really was no time to lose. Both Malfurion and Krasis needed to be informed. The Legion's assassins were closing in on them. Meanwhile, as Neltharion landed at the mouth of his lair's main cavern, he turned to his mates and told them to piss off. And they did, having heard that command more often than they could possibly count. The huge black dragon then made his way through the tunnels, the sounds of hammering echoing all around. But the source of that sound could wait. Neltharion had other plans for this scene, making a few more twists and turns through a bunch more side passages until eventually he arrived at his personal chamber. At last.
Soon, the world will be set right. All those who have betrayed you will know their place. Order will be restored. You will take your rightful rule. Soon.
They have all given of themselves, even absent Nosdorm.
The voices didn't reply, but Neltharion still felt like they were pleased, nonetheless. Closing his eyes and nodding to himself, Neltharion then concentrated really hard, conjuring his favourite thing in the world, the Dragon Soul.
Behold, its beauty, its perfection, its power.
His creation now glowed with an intensity never before achieved. In fact, it was now actually vibrating. Unfortunately, unbeknownst to the black aspect, those vibrations were causing many of the stalactites above to shake and loosen.
Yes. Yes.
As if in some kind of full-blown trance, Neltharion failed to notice the mountain itself was now rumbling, stalactites continuing to quiver, ominously.
Yes. Yes.
You would think the Earth Warder would notice all of this trembling rock and earth around him, but no, far too engrossed.
Yes.
To absolutely no one's surprise, a gargantuan rock spike broke from the ceiling, falling and crashing directly into the left side of Neltharion's jaw. What is slightly more surprising, though, is that this resulted in a scale ripping from the black dragon's face, flying through the air, striking the dragon soul and causing the damn thing actual damage.
No!
Acting very quickly, Neltharion grabbed the artifact, cradling it as if it were a baby.
You will be healed. You will be my perfection again.
And, clutching it tightly, he then quickly departed the chamber, puffing and puffing and hopping his way through the tunnels towards the hammering sounds.
Meklo!
Entering a workshop of sorts, Neltharion gazed over the sea of little stupid goblin faces, all busily hammering away at what appeared to be an oval shield fit for a giant. The dragon searching frantically for one face in particular, until eventually the right one approached. My lord?
Look.
A huge paw presented the damaged disc, with Meklo squinting at it.
The scale of mine fell upon it, goblin. Explain why that should damage the invulnerable.
Meklo glanced from the disc to the injury on Neltharion's face, and then back to the disc again.
Blood too, I see. Of course. My lord, yous were integral in the formation of the disc itself, yes?
You were there, goblin. You already know.
And the others? They're given their essences? They're tied into the disc's matrix?
Of course.
And you're not. See? Yous created the Dragon Soul Matrix, formed it with your power and blood, but you're the only dragon not directly bound to it. You get me? That makes yous its only weakness, my lord. The scale, the blood, any part of yous has the capability of destroying the thing.
The Earthwarder's eyes widened in horror.
I would never do such a thing.
Of course not. Which means nothing can ever destroy it, huh?
Yes. Nothing. My dragon soul is invulnerable.
So long as you take no part in its destruction, my lord.
Which shall never happen.
Neltharion visibly deflated in relief.
But this must be repaired. The disc must be perfect again.
That'll require what it did last time, Lord.
You will have all of my blood that you need.
And it'll slow completion of the other plans. We need your blood and magic for those as well.
All else can wait. The disc cannot.
Meanwhile, yet again, this is insufferable, yelled Lord Stareye, thrusting a pinky nail full of crack into his nostril and snorting. A perfect opportunity wasted, Katalos. Perhaps, Desdrul. Perhaps not. Still, it's done. In case it's not obvious what they're arguing about, Lord Desdrul Stareye felt that the weird pale wizard had been premature in his suggestion of the host halting just as they had the demons on the run. In fact, Stareye felt that they could have advanced all the way back to Suramar if they had just listened to him instead of this stupid upstart, and he'd made that opinion clear more than once since the last video.
The soldiers fought valiantly, Lord, but they are of flesh and blood and are flagging. They need the rest.
Food too, added Brox, who was also here for some reason. Yes, that they do. The soldiers and refugees are eating and bedding down, and that's the end of it. Now, let's move on to what must happen next. Zinashari, obviously. Queen Ashara must be saved. Mumbles and grumbles of agreement echoed around the tent, and Krasis frowned, but said nothing. Zinashari was indeed the access point which the Burning Legion were using in order to enter Kalimdor. So, even if you didn't believe that the Night Elven monarch was merely a prisoner of the demons, the capital needed to be taken either way. But Krasis did not feel confident that Malfurion's people would be able to do that alone. Sod it. Ignoring protocol, Krasis then stepped forward.
Lord Ravencrest, I must speak again on a subject I know you wish not to hear.
You would be referring to communications with dwarves and such. Yeah.
At this moment, the dwarves, Tauren, and other races are surely fighting their own struggles against the Burning Legion. Separately, there is some small chance that you all survive, but a concerted effort by all could see Zinashari retaken with a loss of far fewer lives.
Tauren, in Zinashari? Meh! Ronin then leaned towards Malfurion.
They'd rather have demons there, would they?
You wouldn't understand.
No, I wouldn't.
Master Krasis, your contributions to our strategy have been well appreciated. Your knowledge of your craft exceeds that of any of our sorcerers. In the guidance of the arts, I heartily turn to you for any and all suggestions. Here comes the but. But, when it comes to other matters, I must remind you that you are not one of us. You don't understand basic truths. Even if I did something as mad as summon the Tauren and dwarves to our aid, do you honestly think that they would come? They distrust us as much as we do them. For that matter, even if they would join us, do you expect our soldiers to fight alongside? The dwarves' avarice is well documented. They are more likely to rob us and then scurry back to their holes. And the Tauren? Well, they'd do... Yeah. You see, Master Krasis, we would be inviting bedlam and certain destruction into our midst. We may yet face that by going on alone. This particular discussion is at an end, good wizard, and I must respectfully order that you do not bring it up again. The two then stared each other down for several seconds, and although it was actually Ravencrest who looked away first, Krasis still acquiesced, despite the small victory. Forgive me for overstepping my bounds. We're about to discuss supplies and logistics, Master Krasis. There is really no need for any spellcasters to be present for that discussion, save Illidan, who serves me directly. I would suggest you and your companions get some much-needed rest. Your skills will be needed again when we advance.